I want to show you this battle for 3 reasons. 1, it was a pretty damn good battle. 2, it was Carthage, and I got a request for more Carthage videos, and I do play a lot of Carthage. I just don't upload many of them because I play a ton of Carthage. Then you have the fact that Pontus and Carthage are kind of similar in some regards, in that they both are extremely versatile units, versatile factions. Pontus even more so now with their naked swords. So Carthage can potentially bring heavy sword spams, they can bring spear spams, they can bring some nice balance builds, they can bring pike builds. They have some okay shock cavalry, kind of on the weak side, but they have elephants, they have elite skirmishers. The same for Pontus. Pontus also has a very diverse roster, and of course they have the chariots instead of the elephants. So in this case, I went for a front line of 5 Libyan infantry, 3 mercenary Samnites. I rarely use these. I think the Libyan infantry are slightly better and more versatile with their shield wall. Then I have 3 mercenary Iberian swords, 4 Libyan peltasts, 2 late Libyan hoplites, and I've put a chevron on some of my Libyan peltasts because I could afford it, and that boosts their rate of fire up to 8 per minute, so that can help some. I have 2 Carthaginian cavalry and I have 1 noble cavalry. And here you can see my Pontic opponent is working his way up the hill. I'm also working my way up the hill, so it's going to be pretty important to reach the hill first here to get the advantage of terrain. But as you can see, my opponent is doing something pretty smart here. He's going to use his pikes both to shield his infantry from charges and also to shield his skirmishers. So what this allows him to do is it allows him to push up and then charge through his pikes. But here he is going to charge in with his Pontic Royal Cavalry, probably in order to get, maybe to get at my skirmishers, and maybe to just tie down all these units and rob them of their charge bonuses. I am, however, going to be able to countercharge and pour missiles into this unit, so that unit isn't going to live for long. But here comes the countercharge, and let's see if I'm able to give attack orders. Yep, I'm able to countercharge in the last second, and I'm countercharging through my peltasts. But this is going to allow him to push his guys up through the forest. And here you can see his peltasts have flaming shot on, and that is probably because they were going to go for some elephants. That he thought that it had elephants, and he just kept fire javelins on. So I'm going to chase him out through the woods here. He has some naked swords here, and these guys are too cheap now. They cost 380 instead of 480. So when you bring these guys, you are able to bring more other units. They should be do fairly well against my Libyan infantry with their bonus against infantry. So here he is pushing up with his pikes, and I can't disengage here because I am interlocked with his Celtic warriors. So if I disengage, I'm going to lose a lot of men, but I'm still going to lose a lot of men because of the pikes. So this is a pretty good move. I've seen it used a few times, but it's also going to allow me to pour the missiles in. And here we have a nice charge breaking through my shield walled Libyans, and he's going to be able to make it into here, but I'm going to countercharge with my, I believe this is just my Carthaginian cavalry. And since I also have a lot of missile units here, a lot of peltas and Iberian swords, it's going to be difficult for this bogged down cavalry unit to kill them quickly enough. So they are being dealt with both by cavalry and by a hail of missiles, and the same with his pikes. His pikes are holding off my Libyan infantry from the front, but they are taking a hail of missiles here. So the pikes are dying pretty nicely, although they are doing a number on my Libyan infantry. Here you can see his center is failing. I've defeated his Celtic swords, and now I'm taking down his pikes. Over here as well, my Libyan infantry, very good units. I really like these guys. They're getting into his peltasts. I believe they haven't defeated his naked swords yet, but they should do so in a while. They are of course much more expensive. And here he's charging in with some more naked swords, but I haven't really used my general yet, so I'm going to be able to pull my general out and go for some nice charges on these naked warriors. And if it's one thing naked warriors hate, other than wearing clothes, it's being charged by shock cavalry. So charging in here with shock cavalry is going to kill a lot of these guys. It's going to rear charge them, and in the center I am holding fairly well against his noble blood cavalry. It could be a problem if I only had archers and slingers here, but since I have Libyan peltas, these guys can hold in melee, while I'm able to pour the fire in on the cavalry from other angles. So I really like the Libyan peltas, and I really like the mercenary Iberian swords. They are sort of hybrid units in that they can both fight in melee, and they can be very useful when skirmishing. And when supporting each other like this, it's not going to be easy to destroy a lot of them at once with cavalry. So he has some pikes left. This pike unit is largely untouched. Over here I'm cycle charging for dear life, and it's really killing these naked warriors. So when the naked warriors are down, I should be able to bring my cavalry in for some nice rear charges on his Pontic swords here. Here you can see a lot of dead naked warriors in the woods. His cavalry is almost completely destroyed by both missiles and by Iberian swords. So although they were fighting downhill, there was just too many units here that waited for them and through. And you can see the Libyan javelin men, they survived for quite some time as well. And this is kind of why I don't like the picked peltasts of the new Pergamon and Chimeria, because the peltast units, like the Pontic peltasts and the Libyan peltasts, while the Libyan peltasts have less damage, they're already pretty damn great units for their price. And they have less ammo, sure, but for the price, and since you can only bring a certain amount of units in an army, I quite like the kills that the Libyan infantry is going to be able to get here. And here I'm also charging in with only Libyan infantry, and they are holding quite well against the pikemen, and even killing some of them by getting into the rear here, getting through the pikes and flanking. So we'll have a look at the kills from my Libyan infantry afterwards, but it's usually they can usually kill pretty well, because they're only going to be engaging in melee when units already have taken a lot of damage. So when units are depleted, and that should enable their poor melee stats to at least do some damage and kill some units. So rear charge into the back of swords, pretty devastating. The Carthaginian noble cavalry has had their charge bonus increased, so now it's 63, which is decent. It's a good charge bonus for the price. It's okay, but these guys are going to die very quickly in prolonged melee, so they need to be used as hit and run units. Here my exhausted Libyan infantry is running to join the melee. Same here, these are some Libyan peltasts, I believe, going for rear charge. That guy was stabbed by the Pontic sword, even though he charged him in the rear. So his pikes are fighting against both Iberian swords, stabbing them, and there are units, Libyan peltasts, coming in from the rear. So this pike unit is going to be pretty short-lived, although it should be able to take out a lot of these Iberian swords from the front here. Getting Libyan peltasts in the back is not going to be fun. The brunch, these are only pikes. The pikes are going to die pretty quickly here, and so are the Iberian swords that are fighting the pikes from the front. Not a lot of Pontus left on the field, quite a bit of Carthage. So some pretty nice moves from my opponent here. I especially liked him breaking through the center when and the setup when he the way he used his melee infantry together with his pikes, so in order to allow his pikes to get into combat, was a pretty smart move. I've tried that myself sometimes. It can be effective, but it can also be very difficult to use, because it will set your pikes up in skirmish range, and it will be very effective it can work against rush builds, but missiles against mixed pike and melee infantry formations is going to do a lot of damage to both formations. But still a pretty nice use, and if I was going for rear charges, he could have turned his pikes around and protected his lines entirely from rear charges. So yeah, I think it's a viable tactic, at least. It can absolutely work. And in this case, it was a pretty damn close battle, and the builds were kind of similar in the amount of men. I killed quite a few more, for about 400 more. And the main difference in kills is, if you look at my Libyan peltasts, these guys are doing extremely well for their price. And part of that has to do with their high rate of fire from the upgrades. Part of it is just because they're a damn good cost-effective unit. His pikes also did well because he set them up the way he did. His mercenary naked swords didn't do too great, didn't get the best charges and such. They were charged by noble cavalry, and 147 on noble cavalry isn't bad. It's not great, but it isn't bad. And here you can see the reason why I like Libyan infantry a bit more than I like mercenary Samnites. Because usually when I review the battles, they get about the same amount of kills. Because the Libyan infantry have higher melee attacks, so they will hit more often. They also have okay armor piercing, while the mercenary Samnites are your tanky units. So I quite like Libyan infantry and Scutari as well. And the mercenary Iberian swords, they saw a price increase in patch 16. Still pretty damn good units in that they can both skirmish and then be useful in melee. These are decent kills for a unit that is as cheap as they are. And the mercenary Celtic warriors didn't do too great because they were matched up against mostly Libyan infantry and mercenary Samnites. The cavalry didn't do great either. The Pontic peltasts were charged, so they weren't able to use all of their missiles. The Pontic swords did okay. So overall, I went heavier on the skirmish than he did. I had 7 skirmish units here, and or hybrid units. He had 3. He had more cavalry. He had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. He had 9 swords, while I brought 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, if you count these mercenary Iberian swords. And then I brought the late Libyan hoplites, and they didn't really do much. They supported some fights, but I didn't really get to use them against the cavalry here. So if he didn't use the pikes, then his Pontic swords and his mercenary Celtic warriors would lose even quicker. But not bringing the pikes could have enabled him to possibly bring some more cavalry, or even some more skirmishers, or the very deadly chariot. And I brought the noble cavalry especially for dealing with the chariot, but still it could have been difficult to take out the chariot, although I had a lot of javelins that I could use. So thanks for the battle, GG, well played Horatius. I hope you liked this Carthage video. I always like to play as Carthage. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again on the battlefield.